Welcome to the Hole in the Head Moto Storytime podcast with Andy Taylor and Blaine Dehmlow. In this episode, it's pretty much just one long but necessary rant about Ducatis and the joy of getting input from an online community. But chances are you'll be able to relate.
I'm working on the Ducati single. I've got a 350 Scrambler Widecase. I'm not sure. It's a Widecase 350, late 60s. And I heads off. I had to find a new barrel because the old cylinder's toast.
Right. Well, last we talked that you had just sort of given the bottom end a really good cleaning and flushing and felt like the mains were good enough to kind of stop there. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Okay. So I don't need to do the bottom end. Everything feels good enough. The inside is shiny, bright and shiny. So I have a suspicion it was an old race bike. The guy that had it for me was racing it. And so everything feels okay in spite of all that. So about 2 years ago, I sourced a cylinder and piston because I knew at some point, I found it cheap.
You're going to need it.
At some point, I'm going to need it. So I went ahead and bought it. And it sat on a shelf for about a year and a half.
Did your wife put it somewhere?
No.
Oh.
It's in the shop. It's in the garage, which is completely...
Okay, so you put it somewhere.
Yeah, what's fucked up is like as cluttered and chaotic as my shop is, I know exactly where everything is. Yeah. So I pull this jug off the shelf and put the base gasket on and get everything prepped, slide it over the arm, put the gudgeon pin in, and seat it all the way down on the lower end, turn the engine over, and the cylinder pops out of the top. The cylinder is too short.
Oh.
So what I in fact have is 125 millimeter barrel rather than 135, which is what I need. Right. So I have a narrow case barrel for my wide case. So no big deal, but it's a pain in the... It is a big deal, but it's not like...
It's a setback because now you got to go hunting.
Now I got to go find one, a thing that I thought I already had. So I go on to this Facebook group, which I thought they're pretty active, bunch of old dudes, old racing guys. Surely somebody's got a Widecase 350.
Okay, let me just predict. I'm going to guess that your internet friends on Facebook aren't as helpful as they could have been.
Oh my God!
But you go ahead, share the story.
It was insane, and to the point where I'm like, I'm doing this in real time with my wife, and she could give a shit about what's happening on this. But I'm like, do you believe what Jim's saying right now? This is insane. And to the underlying all of this is it's mediated through social media. So everything is in snippets. These are like 65-plus-year-old guys who don't understand the nuance of text.
Oh, totally,
and they don't necessarily understand the nuance of my generation text or whatever.
Just for the record, what was the question or issue that you wish to address primarily?
I'll tell you. I'll read it, and I say it twice. I'm not like.
Oh, hey, listen, if you can pull it up and read it to me, I would love to go.
I'm going to read it verbatim.
Okay, do it.
I'm not a novelist. I wasn't an English major. But I can get the fucking point across pretty quick. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I totally agree with you.
Premise.
This is going to illustrate. Go ahead. This is going to illustrate how fucking dumb people can be on a forum. Smart people can be collectively absolutely stupid.
Well, but I think we are going to segue from BMW guys to Ducati guys.
Oh, listen,
here's the Ducati guys.
I spent 6 weeks in a Ducati hole, but I won't run that over your story. But you go ahead.
Here's the literal post. Hoping someone has some spares or guidance. Have cobbled together bits to my 350 Widecase Scrambler. Got the piston on the rod and the cylinder on, but the throw is too far for the cylinder barrel. The piston pops out of the top, past the top ring, of course. Using a 76 millimeter Borgo in what I thought was the right jug. I assume narrow case rods are shorter than wide case. The jug measures 125 millimeters from crown to the bottom of the skirt. I'd rather not have to split the cases again. Does anyone have a correct barrel?
Okay, so the primary question there is, does anyone have a correct barrel for a wide case? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, now, I started it with hoping someone has some spares.
Yep.
And I ended it with, does anyone have the correct barrel?
I believe I have picked up the essence of the message so far.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's see.
I need a 350 wide case barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I even gave you that. It's a 76 millimeter bore.
And you gave me more information than I wanted.
Yeah. Now, the first comment that I made was I got ahead of it and said, by the way, confirmed. I just measured the old original jug that it came with, and it's 10 millimeters taller. I've confirmed I have the wrong barrel. I need this. Okay.
Okay.
First comment.
I can't wait.
How many fins are on the barrel? I said, well, one less than there should be. There's 8.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, you know why somebody asked that? Somebody knows that there's a 10-fin barrel and a 12-fin barrel or something like that, and that's what they're getting to.
And they just want me to know that they know that. Yeah.
That's
and so then another guy comes in and says, 350 cylinders have 9 fins, 250 has 8, wide or narrow case.
This is a wonderful fucking rabbit trail that we're going down, talking about fins now. When the original question was, does anybody have a barrel? Now we're going to talk about fins. Okay.
And then I said, well, hey, guy, this setup, again, is a 76 millimeter bore with 8 fins. Like, I'm not interested in, we can talk about diagnosis of what I have.
Yep.
But again, I know what I need. Does anyone have it? Okay.
Yep. We could also talk about the production history of when they provided 8-fin as opposed to 10 fins, when they switched over.
Oh, no. We get involved. There. Hey, we get there.
Thank God. Because that's what we need.
And I said, are you saying that 350s have 9, whether they're narrow or wide case? Like, I'll humor you in this conversation. That's not asking what I'm asking for, but okay.
Okay.
And he says, well, it's obviously a 250 cylinder. It's too short.
Thank you.
Yeah. I said, well, thanks.
That didn't occur to you when you decided to post on the forum, did it?
Yeah. When I said the barrel's too short, it didn't ever occur to me that the barrel be too short. So I said, hey, man,
Andy,
it says it's a 250 cylinder. It's not, it is too short. So that should have been obvious to me when I bought the fucking thing. Well, I said, hey, it's not too obvious because it is a 76 millimeter bore, right? So to be fair, a 76 millimeter bore is a 350. I didn't count the fucking fins. I don't need to. Does anyone have a 350 wide case barrel?
Right.
And he said, standard bore is a 250. Standard bore on a 250 is 74, and it can be bored to 76 millimeter. Okay.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, because you ask about boring it, right?
Yeah. No. That's even if I cared, that's fine. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good to know. This guy could have been bored.
This guy's new name is Ducati Dick. All right. Ducati Dick, just trying to put in one piece of information because it makes him look like he really knows his shit. That's all that was, right?
Yeah. Well, there's
doesn't
3
answer the
of
question.
Yeah.
What's that?
So there's 3 of these guys.
Okay. And at the end of this, we're going to publish their names and their contact. All right. And we're going to get these guys banned from the internet.
And I feel bad because I think that in one, so it gets
go ahead.
Deeper.
Next entry.
Original guy, I'll call him A. And then this last guy who told me that, the ins and outs of borings, he's B. But A comes back and says, and throws a shitload of numbers at me. 250 equals 8. 350 equals 9. 450 equals 10. Okay. I get that. Okay.
Thank you.
Conrad lengths. 250, 350 narrow equals 125. 250, 350 wide equals 135. 450 wide only equals 140. Okay. So he's outlined what things came with.
That's right.
What I can expect if I had if I needed to identify these jugs. Okay.
Right. And just to clarify, none of this information so far addresses any of your questions.
Right. No. My one question, which is, does anyone have a 350 wide case barrel? Nobody's okay. He's either an idiot or an asshole. And I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's awesome. It'd be fun to ride with, pal around with, but I'll bet he's not. I'll bet he's just a tiresome fuck. In this channel, he is a tiresome fuck. Okay, so then Guy C comes in.
Oh no, Ducati. I can't say that word.
Okay.
I can't say the C word.
So he says, Hey, Andy, the bores on the 250 and 350 are almost identical. Okay.
So helpful.
They're not, but okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I said, and then he comes back and he says, hey, Andy, the 250s are highly over square and the 350s are almost square or equal boring stroke. I don't know what any of that means. The bores on each displacement may be equal. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Again, it's completely superfluous, right?
Yeah. Don't even care.
But anyway, just real quick for the folks at home, when a bore is under square or over square or square, square is mean that it's 76 millimeters around and it travels 76 millimeters in its stroke. That's square.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
so if it's under.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's under square or over square, that means one of the dimensions is longer. That's all it means.
Okay.
All right. So
does that mean that you have a 350 Widecase barrel?
Do you have one in your garage? Is it for sale for less than $150? And can you ship it?
So then I posted another picture, again, just trying to be helpful, guys. Here's a picture of a profile of my barrel. I get it. It's got 8 fins. Here's the piston popping out. This is, again, This is what I'm dealing with, you guys.
Does anybody have one?
And then guy D comes in. He's actually a little bit more helpful in that he changes the trajectory of what my solution could be. Right?
Let's hear it. I'll be the judge of that. Let's hear it.
So he says, hey, a barrel spacer may save you a lot of pain.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think, okay, that's an entry into
that's pretty constructive. That's pretty constructive.
Yeah. I said, hey, man, that's what I assumed, but
that's the advice portion, because you said, does anybody have advice?
Or guidance.
So now you're getting some guidance. So who's this guy?
This guy is Joe.
This guy we invite to our campouts. This guy's in the club.
I said, that's what I assumed, or at least finding the right jug. Is there someone, and to be fair, is there someone making spacers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. And then he said, I made one once. Well, all right.
Okay, so that indicates that you can make one yourself. I understand that you could make one yourself.
Yes.
You probably understand that.
And that was a short, thing maybe. And then he says, 10 millimeter spacers are fairly common.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Then I said, well, Joe, I'm not really set up for machining right now.
Yeah.
Plus, I'd also need the cam drive spacer, right? Because if I'm raising this high, I might need the cam drive spacer. And common where?
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you mean by common? Who?
Yeah.
I don't see anything off the shelf at the usual spares sites.
Okay. So at Ducati's R Us, there's not a spacer. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
It's not like an off the shelf thing. So,
okay.
And he says, well, yeah, true. So then he tells me that, yeah, I would need to do this, that, the other thing, and then measure this, but then this might be off, but then the skirt would be a little too high. And I was like, oh my God. So I've followed this down, and to give him the benefit of the doubt, it just doesn't sound like something I'm interested in for this project. Because again, if anyone has a 350 Widecase barrel, that would be great.
Okay.
And then if ultimately, because they're so common, what he says is, I already have a 350 bevel drive for this other racing bike but whatever. Someone did have one for sale in this group, but I could make it for what he was asking. So again, they're common, but so expensive that he just made it himself.
Right.
So, okay, well, that doesn't really, now we're back to unhelpful.
Okay, so this guy is turning into a little bit of an oxygen thief, right?
Yes.
In the fact that it started out as almost helpful, and I let him in the club, but he's about to get kicked out. If he posts one more time, he's out.
He better buy dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he better bring some cupcakes or something. And
if he's coming camping with us, he better have a motorhome with a big screen TV and a really good selection of movies. That's the only way we're keeping that guy around.
So then A jumps back in and says, measure the bottom of the liner. You'll discover it's 80 millimeters diameter, 250. When a 350 is 81 millimeters, you need a 350 9-fin barrel. that's again, that's what I'm asking for. And he says, and then he goes in to tell me that a spacer doesn't work. Fitting a spacer under the barrel is not a solution. There'll be nothing aligning the barrel correctly. Hence, the head and drive shaft won't be located adequately. Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Not interested in spacer.
Okay.
Does anybody have a 350 wide case barrel? Okay. And then I reply and say, hey, thanks. I get that I need the correct cylinder. That was the ask here. If anyone has spares. Also, and I'll humor you on this one. Also, all the specs I see say a 76 millimeter piston is for the 350. Not the case. This was my mistake.
Yeah, that was your mistake.
That was my bad.
Yep.
I shouldn't have engaged.
Now you kicked an engineering facts hornet's nest, and now all these guys are going to start to fly at you and at each other, trying to prove whose measurements and whose sources are more correct. Is that what happens?
Because every table, every manual, every Ducati, anything that I've read is that a 250 is a 74 millimeter piston, a 350 is a 76, give or take, bored piston.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yes, you can bore a 250 out to 76, but a 350 came with a 76 millimeter piston. Like this is now we're at the point. It's like, I don't give a fuck about any of this possibility within the spec range of a Ducati.
Right.
Does anyone have a 350? Just answer no.
Yeah.
And then, so I said, okay.
Well, just to sum up where we are so far, you've been entirely correct. You've been unhelped by everyone, except for the fact that you did respond with a
I should not have engaged.
Yeah, you shouldn't have gone into that, because that's going to contribute to the ongoing dysfunction.
Yeah, and so then that's like if you're carrying a tray of glassware and you trip a little bit, but you might save yourself.
Yeah.
If you trip again, not only do you fall, the tray falls, every single glass falls, and that shatters. And so then you have a giant clusterfuck everywhere that you have to clean up. Well, Mr. A comes back.
This is about what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. He says 250s are 74 millimeter, 350 is 76, and 450 is 86. I said, yeah, okay. I get that, because that's what I just said. Okay, fine. I said, and then he comes back and says, oh, by the way, whatever your 76 piston's been running in, it's been hitting the head. Ouchie face, ouchie face. So now he's saying that the 76 millimeter piston I'm using is not good enough or up to par, or I'm not feeling judged, but like he's saying, oh, you're going to use that piston? Yeah. And the piston looks correct. I mean, the piston looks fine. I don't see any scoring.
Yeah, he just looked at the picture. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking with that guy is that I just ate a bowl of spaghetti and I have a fork right here in my hand. I'm not sure whether to hunt this guy down and stuff it right in between his nose, in that tender part, and just cause him pain, or if I should just jam it in my own fucking eyeball to end my life, because this is becoming so depleting.
And then, so here's where we start to splinter off, and this is where the first glass falls.
Oh, here's where we start to splinter off? Okay.
Yes. He said, whatever the 76 piston was running in, it's been hitting the head. And I said, hey, what do you mean? Where do you see that? Wait, he says, where did I see that? You posted 2 photos, so obviously in them.
Oh, Jesus. Great.
It's okay. I'm not going to bite.
Yep.
Not going to bite. And then I said, hey, okay. And then I quoted his 2 comments, because then at that point I'm like, okay, well, it's weird because based on what I'm hearing now, I have an 8-fin barrel. I'll indulge it. I have an 8-fin barrel, so obviously a narrow case, 250, and yet I have a 76 millimeter piston, which is a 350.
Yeah.
Huh. If you're saying that 76s were 350s and you're saying 8-fin barrels were 250 narrow cases only,
Andy,
there's a bit of a discrepancy here.
You are not going to be able to call that out or solve that.
Hang on, this is where it gets good. I said, here's the quote, here's the comment that you made. Here's the second comment that you made. I said, these 2 comments do not square. Okay?
Yeah.
These 2 comments don't square. Based on all the information they don't square. He says, I don't understand what you mean. Pistons are round, not square.
Okay, where's this guy live?
So I took a deep breath. I had to take a deep breath.
Listen, Oh.
I said, hey, okay, the specs you gave per narrow case, wide case, and a 250-350 do not jive. I have an 8-fin, 76 millimeter jug. Why do you, and then, okay. And then guy E comes in and says, well, Andy, because you have a 250 cylinder that has been bored 2 millimeters oversized using a 350 piston, you can see a mark halfway up the piston squish where it's been hitting the head, and the head suit 250 bore size. If they came in the same box of bits, you may just be missing the spacer for the barrel measurement. Like, okay, somewhat helpful, but it actually explains what.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Yeah, yep. Sure. But again,
still doesn't tell you that he's got one on the shelf or that he knows a guy that has one.
I said, thanks for that. It's been a little while since I got the jugs and the piston, but I believe I got them separately, independent. The original barrel's toast, hadn't measured it, and I'm sure the bevel is fine. Cylinder and the piston are the only bits that are not original. And then Phil, guy A comes back. Still, and now he's addressing guy E, not me.
Perfect.
He's addressing
That's
guy
helpful.
E and says, well, Phil, the problem regards the unsupported shorter liner from the 250 narrow case now. And then he says, mind you, and now this is kind of at me, I feel. He says, mind you, we've only got about 150 years of experience with old Ducati singles.
Oh, my God.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you know what that means. Like, hey,
I know
kid,
exactly what that means.
And
I know exactly
then I said,
what that means.
Guys, I appreciate the experience. I understand it's the wrong cylinder. At this point, again, because I made another comment earlier, I'm looking for a spare 350 wide case barrel per the original post.
That's right. In fact, can I make a fantasy add to this? Can I pretend I'm in the loop?
Yeah.
I want to sell you.
I got a punchline coming here.
All right. See if you didn't get this one. All right. Hey, Andy, I see that you need a 350 wide case cylinder. I knew a guy that had one just down the road from me in his barn. That was about 12 years ago. What about that? That would be a good response, right?
If it were 1997, God, I could have helped you out.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then this is where I'm like, I'm done. Okay. This is not going to be helpful. Totally fine.
Okay.
And then today I'm at lunch today with my daughter. We're having a hamburger and I get a notification that someone commented on my post. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens now. Okay. Hey, what about re-sleeving the correct cylinder? Yeah, okay. Okay, good. I said, hey, man, that's an option I've considered. But I thought for sure someone would have a 350 wide case cylinder, plus the original has at least one broken fin. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. B, guy B, comes back in. The original guy comes back in and says, I have 350 cylinders in stock, $150.
Oh,
2 minutes later, he says, wait, I should have said sleeve. I said, wait, do you have a cylinder or just sleeves? And that was 3 hours ago.
No response.
So no response. So he either has what I need after like 12 hours.
And could have said that in the first post.
He was the very first person to reply to the post. So
Andy, I think, listen, by bringing this to light, I've always wanted to show or have an illustration of how dysfunctional forums and all this kind of the way we message each other is. I mean, it is absolutely, it explains why all this technology didn't save us any time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just totally sucked your life dry. And I think this is going to go viral. I think everybody in the world is going to listen to it. And they're going to say that every forum in the world is like this. Every conversation at work is like this. And my question to you is, what message can you now offer to anybody who ever gets their finger near a fucking keyboard to respond to a question? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Hang on. I'll answer your question by telling you about the history of instant messaging and how it first came out as a response to emails that were taking too long.
I worked at Hewlett Packard in 1989 when we were just experimenting with this in-house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a comment is different than an instant message, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay. So here we go. I feel like it's me. Like, I have to assume that it's me. I know you had issues with the forum, especially Ducati forums. I know you had issue with yours, but it's so aggravating because I see successful cases of what I'm asking for and what I need from this group. I see success for other people all the time.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's usually like the people that have the biggest wins. And what I mean is they have a problem, they state that problem, and then within the first couple comments, the problem's solved, or at least they have some guidance towards solving it themselves. Okay. Those people are usually, they don't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or they're just a complete fucking idiot that everyone's like, hang on, I got this, guys. You know, like, so they get that, so that the old guys get to flex, you know, and help that person and be a rock star. And it's the same with, like, you know, it's usually someone they post, it sucks, but they post in broken English, and it's, you know, please do help. I have this thing restore for my grandfather. Right. And they're like, oh, that's an amazing machine. Here's this. You want to go to Lacey Ducati, you're going to ask for this and that. Right. Oh, thank you, please, for everything. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And so here I am coming in, like, I'm a pretty confident fucking sailor. You know what I mean? I'm coming in here and I'm like, hey guys, where's my boat? Yeah. And they're like, well, actually, look, God damn it. Yeah. So you just said, if they had said, hey man, 350 Widecase cylinders are pretty hard to come by. I'll keep my eye open, or I'll have a look, get back to you. Check eBay. Well, yeah, no shit. But even that would have been helpful. Not really, but that would have been at least an answer. Yes. So I have to assume it's just me, because it's not the first time that I've run into this.
No, it is the defeating thing in a forum. That's why I never go back. Is why I quit all the car club forums that I was part of. I quit the owners club forums because I had a version of this in the Pierce Aero Club. I'll just and it was slightly different, but it was the same issue of internet assholes, right? There was a guy that bought a Pierce Aero. This is an old pre-war big behemoth luxury car, right? And they stopped making them in 1938. This guy bought one. He says, hey, I bought this Pierce Aero. I'm going to get it for X amount of money. You know, what do you think it's going to take to get this thing on the road or whatever? And so then all the guys in the club climb on, telling this guy, it's their chance to then show them how rich you have to be to restore a Pierce Aero. That's their only purpose. Not that it's possible. Yes, you can do these things. No, it's just like, expect to spend $20,000 on the interior alone. You'll spend $30,000 in 3 years getting it painted. You know, and they all talk about the top shelf, most long way around the whole thing. And then they tell them, and when it's all done, the car won't be worth what you spent. So obviously, this only goes to the super rich, right? The guys like me that have the money and the wherewithal just to follow a passion and have no fucking financial sense to it, right? So I posted to be helpful. I said, hey, I have a Pierce Aero. I'm a paycheck player. You know, I save a little bit of money off of each paycheck and try to get some stuff done in the car. But if I were you, I would go ahead with the project, because even if you have to put a blanket over the seat, you know, and drive it around like that and take your kids out to get a Christmas tree or whatever, you're going to have a great moment. And if you just have to, you know, piece this thing along, there's no problem with doing that. And there's nothing that says that the car has to be painted or whatever until you reach a place where you have to have it done and you have the wherewithal. So in the meantime, you can have a ton of fun with this. And it's a great thing to have and a great thing to preserve. You wouldn't think that would require any response, right? I mean, that's the most conciliatory thing I think a human has ever said. I mean, I think Gandhi's looking at that going, man, I should have had you help me with some stuff, Blaine.
That was a good answer, Blaine. Yeah,
it was a good answer. No, and I tell you what, everybody in the club climbed on. Well, if you don't have enough money to spend $18,000 on the gasket set to rebuild that engine, then you don't have any business having a Pierce Aero. Yeah. And then P.S., by the way, why don't you get the manual? You know, it's like, oh my God. You know, this guy was simply a guy that was dreaming about this old car, found it, had a possible deal on it, and they made it seem like it was inaccessible to him. I mean, it's so elite. It is so snobby It's so mean-spirited. And it's exactly what the guys do on the technical side. And that's exactly what happened spiritually in the thing that happened with you on the Ducati site.
Yeah. If it's not done to a particular level, or if it doesn't justify the effort / money that I've put into it,
yep,
then it's not worth you doing, or you don't know what you're talking about.
You're not as special or as knowledgeable as I am.
Yeah.
You know?
And it makes me want to, because my other, the Ducati I do have, I think I'm in it $1,200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think about that
bleep that out. Don't say that, because that's going to make all those guys attack you.
Yeah.
Right?
So not much really for what it is. And so I know that those guys have spent, or some of those guys have spent $1,200 on the paint. And what it was they painted it 3 years ago, and they were never happy with the shade of red. Yeah. And so they just went ahead and blasted it and took it apart and painted it
back again. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's fine, whatever, but not really what I'm interested in.
Right.
So again, does anybody have a 350 Widecase, and it's still ongoing. And I know what happened is the guy, he did misspeak, and he's got sleeves
and not cylinders
for $150 for a sleeve.
Right.
And I just bid on.
It's going to cost you $150 to get it put in.
Yeah, I just bid on
to
one.
Pour it and press it in. Yeah.
I bought one on eBay this morning for $15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys! Anyway, your shit is not. So that tells me that there's a particular budget that's been set aside for motorcycle projects, and it's kind of, maybe they come from that business side where you have to spend all your budget, otherwise you can't justify the same budget next year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's I've budgeted $6,000 on my single Ducati this year, so I better figure. I better instead of maybe probably the dumber way to do it, which is I got $6,000. That's 12 motorcycles.
That's right.
Fuck yeah. I can fly somewhere and bring a couple back, and they spend it all on one bike, which they may or may not have to, but maybe they do have to, because they're just buying parts from themselves and they charge way more than they should.
Andy, why is it that so many people have so many deep-seated ego needs that they're trying to get addressed, on forums and in politics and whatever it is? It's can't anybody sit down with a friend or a counselor and just learn to be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
What is it?
Yeah. I don't know. I did feel so part of getting the piston back assembled, you need the little circlip, the ring, the clip that goes in the piston, the wrist pin, those are 18 millimeter, right? And they're just these bent wires. So I just went and got an internal C-clip, an internal,
snap ring.
Snap ring, excuse me. And that should be fine.
Yeah.
It fits. I can't get it out unless I use the pliers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was 47 cents.
Yeah. Did you weigh it? Did you put one on both sides?
You know what I'm going to do?
If you put a wire on one side and a clip on the other side, that's going to be.
Yeah. So I thought of, so maybe I should do a post and be hey guys,
you should.
I found, in case anybody was wondering, Lacey Ducati, the Ducati spares people, they have the pin rings for $4.99 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, Ace makes the same thing. Yeah. They got them for 47 cents, y'all.
Yeah, and I got some at Harbor. I got some at Harbor Freight, and I got the pliers for $1.50.
Yeah. Hey, just a PSA, guys. I don't know if y'all knew this, but you can get most of the parts you need for your Ducati at Ace.
And don't you think we should let's do a phantom post, all right, and just see how long we can bait these guys in. We should have this as an ongoing feature of how fucked up the internet is, right? And then let's you and I go pick a forum and we'll post, and then we'll just see if we can't keep dragging guys in off the subject and just see how much we can get them to dump into it.
I'm gonna post it right now. Hey guys, is there any reason I shouldn't use a circlip from a snap ring from Ace?
Yes.
Let's see what happens. Let's just do that.
Andy, I fantasize about the life you're leading right now by doing that. But you do know that in this whole subject that, we've pretty much fouled our nests. And so whatever help the Ducati guys did have to give us in the past.
Yeah, it's
we're on our
totally
own now.
tainted. Yeah.
We're on our own forever.
Well,
yeah.
so I've tried to keep that in mind and being like, all right, just be cool, man. These guys are, they're these old dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Their internet etiquette isn't, quite what it could be. I'm sure they
got
awesome
150 years of experience between them.
Yeah, apparently they're really important. So
they used to work for Morton Ficall on the space shuttle in the 70s.
Yeah.
They're good engineers, damn it.
Yeah, he just machined it. I just went ahead and machined it up. I'm in a rental townhome, dude. I don't have a machine. I don't have a goddamn mill in my garage.
It's like, I made a promise to go to Italian Cars and Coffee 30 miles from my house in 2 weeks, okay? I don't give a fuck what it takes to get this thing going. I'm putting on my Ducati sweater, and I'm going, all right? Yeah. And I don't care if I have to put 80 weight oil in it because I got an undersized ring. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to Ace, and I'm going to get some spare hex head bolts. Is there any reason I can't just rethread these old head bolts? Still good. No. Though, yeah, after years of use, they're
one use. Yep. As soon as you torque them down, you change the thread pitch, and they'll never be the same. Unless you put them back on, and you don't pay attention to any of that, and you still do the best job you can. You'll probably only be able to ride it for 7 or maybe 52 years before it has a problem because of the head bolts.
Yeah.
Probably. Somewhere between 7 years and 52 years, it's going to fail.
But okay.
Because of the head bolts.
And we beat this dead horse. But part of me actually, I do kind of envy that discipline around that. But I don't have said discipline to really care more than that. To be like, oh, maybe I should, but then that's it.
Yeah. The truth is that I have a similar envy in the fact that I love the fact that guys can do that. I have ruined 10 paint jobs because I painted the tank, and of course I had to set it on there to look at it before it was dry, and then I brushed up against it or knocked it off or did something. Everybody would look at this with horror. They'd throw up in their mouth thinking, my God, why can't you just walk in the house and come back out tomorrow? And it's like, I can't. As soon as it was shiny, I just had to look at it. I tried to put the stickers on it when it was wet. I can't wait. I can't.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah. So anyway, more updates on that. So if you or anybody have a 3, by the way, I did.
But hey, you know what? I have 2 of them, Andy.
You got 2 of them. Yeah, but again, I paid less than anyone should have for Ducati. You know what I mean? So if I'm taking a step back and look at it, like, I got these pretty cheap. I got these did I tell you how? I got these. So the 250 and the 350, I got in a package deal for a trade of a Triumph 500.
Oh, what a great deal.
Yeah, so I bought this Triumph trophy in Canada.
Right.
And went across the border to a swap meet, and it was a bus, it was a big Harley show. And on the way out, I saw this old Triumph, cute little flat tracker Triumph in the back of somebody's truck, and they wanted 800 Canadian for it. And that's like, 600 US. So then I talked them down a little bit more, and I got a really good deal on this Triumph.
Right.
Threw it in the back of my truck. I scored. Like, I drove 4 hours, and I actually brought a bike home. That's awesome. So I get to the border, and I'm like, stoked. I'm coming home. And he says,
you get a trophy.
He says, do you have anything to claim? Like, do you want to claim them? I said, well, yeah, I obviously have a motorcycle, so I need to claim that, I guess. Right. He says, okay, go ahead and pull over here onto the right. Okay, well, that's fine. And so I get out. He says, hey, so go ahead and let me see the title. So, well, it's not, I don't have, they're in boxes, dude. Like, all these boxes that are in the back of my car.
Are a motorcycle.
Those are the motorcycle. Yeah. What you're looking at is an engine and a frame. Like, there's no title. This is parts. So, well, you can't come in without a title. So, what? So I made this bed that, like, I'm just trying to play ball here, guys. Like, I'm just trying to do the upright thing. Right. Yes, I obviously have a motorcycle. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm bringing in a motorcycle. So then I have to do this whole customs thing. by the way, I have my daughter, who's at the time 4 years old.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in
that's
customs.
easy in the car, right?
Yeah. So we spent an hour and a half at the border in the customs thing, trying to talk this guy into some sort of just logic about this motorcycle that's in pieces. I'm not bringing this in as a running motorcycle. I don't need to have a title. This is all.
It's a
parts.
donor, right?
It's a donor
Right.
thing with part. They finally let me go after an hour and a half, and I brought it in, and then had to sit on it. Got it running, but I got to sit on it for like 6 months, and then I drove it all the way to Houston, traded it for 2 Ducatis and and an MZ.
Yeah. Oh,
It
cool.
was like, Jesus Christ. So, and in the end, it paid off, and now I've got my 2 little Ducati singles.
Yeah. So the overall karma of the deal is still in place, I guess, because you're not overextended yet, but
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how this barrel goes. That might make everything not worth it.
Well, I hope you get that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is such a sore spot with me trying to get this information out. And I'm so glad we could go through that in actuality, because I never remember I can't really communicate the ridiculousness of it unless you go through it from an actual experience. And so this just explains why hardly anything gets done in the world ever, and especially in larger institutions. This just explains it.
Yeah, but it actually kind of makes me want to do it more, because then I'm like, well, I'll show you guys. I can do it for $500. I don't care how many years I got 50, whatever.
We don't mean to pee in the pool here, but can you relate? Check back next week to see how the search goes. Meanwhile, if anyone has a cylinder for a 350 Widecase Scrambler, let us know. Want to help us out? Go ahead and subscribe and leave a review. It's a huge help and we appreciate it. Follow along on Instagram at Hole in the Head Moto. See you next time.